Hello, everybody, and Alexa, say remember. Alexa, say remember the 5th of November.
The gunpowder treason plot. I know of no reason why the gunpowder treason should ever be forgotten.
And it won't be, and as it's coming up very, very soon. And it's going to be Guy Fawkes night very, very soon, guys. And we're going to be burning the effigies of the old Guy. So penny for your Guy, and keep tuned, because today I'm going to be drawing a picture. Sorry, not drawing. I'm going to be finished. I did actually start doing this for the channel, and I thought to myself, why do it on my own in complete silence when I can have you guys here tuning in as well, and maybe learning a little bit about this app. As always, this is my free app Critter, and I thought to myself, why not share my knowledge that I found out from the past month that I've been doing some work with Nicole, and hopefully she will join us again. But I think she's feeling a bit ill at the moment, so we're going to leave her to. I'll give her an Instagram post, but if you guys want to come over to Instagram and see what else I'm getting up to, then my name is Blut084, BLUT084. And today we've got a little bit different. Instead of having a comic story in the background, I've got a story from Guy Fawkes and the origins of why he has and gets burned every year.
The young man who had tried to kill him. That man had been discovered just hours from blowing up the Houses of Parliament.
Once again, guys, I'm going to be using all the tools here and sort of colouring in things and getting on with certain other things as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of a lot of all of this. I don't need this anymore. Yes, I do. Because I've just realised I haven't changed the thumbnail. Bear with me while I do that quickly.
This is the story of a battle between.
And this is where I got all the pictures from. Again, it's a copied picture today, guys. I thought instead of drawing something out, because I'm going to be doing my full picture on Monday, so don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ding that bell for notifications. Again, guys, there is nothing wrong with copying somebody's picture and using it for other things. Just don't claim it as yours. And this isn't my picture that I will be using. It is somebody else's, and I'll just, like I said, I've made a quick colouring, making a new picture for November. And again, November is all about fire and fireworks. On Monday, we'll be doing V for Vendetta, which is based around Guy Fawkes, and doing a picture for that. And then we'll move on to the origins of fireworks and beyond. But like I said, I've completely forgot to change the thumbnail. At least I think I did. Give me a second. Probably didn't.
In May 1604,
I'll just check that on my phone quickly and give out a post to everybody telling them that I've just gone live. So listen to the story in the background while I do so.
He is tall, he's physically powerful, and he's an experienced old soldier, a man of violence.
Guy Fawkes had just returned from years abroad, fighting for the Catholic cause in Europe. Now, he was determined to fight for that same cause in his own country, a country where the majority of the population were fiercely anti-Catholic.
He's very willing to kill for his beliefs just as much as he is to die for them.
He is clearly deeply angry at the suffering inflicted upon his Roman Catholic community, and is out for vengeance.
So yeah, guys, like I said, I'm creating something new, something new of something old, and using my colours, as my name is Blut, and I like the colour blue, and my own creation, Blue Angel, is blue himself. So, like again, guys, if you want to leave me a comment at any point during the stream, or just want to listen to the history of Guy Fawkes, then do so in the background. I'm going to be using the tools that are down here, and let me know if you can see this okay. And I will pop up the comments as much as possible.
The previous year, King James, already King of Scotland, had inherited the English throne from his cousin Elizabeth I. For Catholics, who had endured decades of persecution during the reign of Elizabeth, James's accession brought fresh hope.
He lacks, to some extent, the aura of kingship. His physical presence isn't necessarily that of Elizabeth or Henry VIII, but at the same time,
It may be a bit
he's never
boomy in the
taken
background, so I'll just mess around with the
clever,
sound there.
wise,
Let me know if you can hear that
experienced
okay. I'm pretty sure you can,
He's
but if you can't,
extremely
definitely let
eloquent.
me know. If
His
you're watching this back,
language
guys, I do apologise if there is any
is
cracking sound
extremely
or
gifted
buffering or
politician.
things like that. Again, I am live,
James
so
had
everything that I
to be
do
more tolerant
does
of
get
Roman
done
Catholics.
live.
His own wife is a Catholic convert. The problem is that he is inheriting an English realm where the populace is on the whole now Protestant by recent conversion, viciously anti-Catholic, and James realizes that if he's going to get anywhere in England, he has to continue the policy of persecution.
James could never have given England's Catholics what they wanted. They wanted religious tolerance. They wanted full freedom of worship.
What James is offering them is an ability to carry on being Catholic.
All right, that's the Instagram post put out. So let's get on with the image that I am doing. So let's get rid of all of this that I don't need and remove all the writing. But again, guys, if you want to know how I do all the writing and all the effects on here, let me know in the comment section. But that's not what we're doing today. We are actually getting rid of all that. So let's get rid of that one there. And again, we've made 3 layers. That's the main image that I had, and I will not be keeping that one. So let's get rid of that one as well. And again, I already did a little bit of color to it. I put a little bit of blue for his jacket. Again, my colors for my channel and my general avatar is blue.
Able to convince.
I'm going to be using the tools down here and sort of messing around a little bit, seeing what I can do, seeing what I can't do. But I'm pretty sure I can do pretty much everything now.
But even to discuss it was high treason. His idea was to blow up King James and his government at the
Legend.
next opening of Parliament.
As a means
People
of
say, oh, Guy
political
Fawkes was a bad guy.
action,
I'm not so
this
sure.
idea of blowing up Parliament is just absolutely spectacular. The whole of Parliament would have burnt down, and all the people in it.
But he
Would
didn't
have been
succeed.
absolute carnage.
I'm not a terrorist and I don't
This is
believe
not
in
slaughter
terrorism,
for
but he
slaughter's
was doing it for a cause,
The
as you will
gunpowder
find out.
plotters didn't just aim to destroy Westminster, they aimed to transform the English political landscape.
Being a Catholic was dangerous enough, but being a Catholic plotting high treason was the most dangerous thing imaginable. Despite the huge risks involved, Guy and his fellow conspirators agreed to the murder plot. Even more importantly, they swore an oath to see it through.
The oath in the Duck and Drake is it's a watershed moment. It's an oath of secrecy, but it's also an oath of action.
If any of them decided to back out, they were not only letting God down, they were letting each other down and the cause down as well. So the oath is very, very important.
What they're imagining is so atrocious, so devastating, that the only way, I think, to sanction that level of bloodshed is to say that it is justifiable by God.
King James knew his regime was
I'm
hated
not a
by
Catholic
Catholics
or
across the
any
land,
kind of, I have been baptized by my parents, but I don't follow any kind of religion.
and the future
And if anything
of
offends you today, guys, I do apologize. Like I said, I'm not a religious person, and I wouldn't say I'm against religion. I just don't believe anything in anything particular, shall we say. As I've had lots of things happen over the years, and
Guy Fawkes and 5 other
if I didn't have my own personal willpower, maybe that was given by God. Who knows? Who knows what actually is out there? Who knows? We could have been made by aliens, for all I know. But then again, the Big Bang Theory.
As the state religion in England.
Guy didn't just want to kill people.
I'm not a scientist or Scientology.
Was to actually change the
That's
very
just Guy
fabric of
Fawkes.
society and
And
create a
Ollie.
new world order.
How he did his thing.
They know that the odds are stacked against them. Even if they destroy the king in Parliament, there's no guarantee whatsoever that the crucial next phase in their plan, the military rising to restore a Catholic England, is going to succeed.
They know that the king
Just quickly going around everything that I've already done,
There is a
giving it a
strong
sharper poppy
that they
edge
will
to it.
all go to hell for this. But they feel in their heart of hearts they have absolutely no other choice.
The plotters were bound by a solemn oath to kill King James, but agreeing to do it was one thing. Actually doing it was quite another. The first challenge was to get hold of gunpowder.
It's looking a bit fuzzy, I don't like it so much. Very digitally, very squarey, but it is only going to be used for my actual picture on my channel. And what do you think of the picture from yesterday? Let me know in the comments section. I'll keep popping back and minimize that so you guys can chat. And thank you very much already for that like.
In small batches, they buy a barrel here, a barrel there, and they stockpile it.
36 barrels of gunpowder, and by barrels, I'm talking enormous barrels. The equivalent now of a nuclear warhead.
Getting the gunpowder to where it was needed would be far more difficult. The plotters began by renting a house right next to Parliament. Some historians believe that they began to tunnel from that house through the foundations of Parliament itself.
They started work on this, and they persevered about the digging for some time. This was hard work. They were trying to hack their way through solid medieval foundations, 10, 12 feet thick.
Okay, I would normally put another layer underneath, which I could do actually, thinking no I couldn't. What I normally do, guys, is I colour over the top and then I've got a layer underneath which I can use. On this, I didn't do that because I'm stupid. But if I was to put a layer over the top of it, I would have to do certain things to it. And today I'm not really doing layers, I'm just sort of colouring over something I've already done. I mean, it's already been done, so again, this is not my piece of art.
Secured a lease on a cellar in the perfect place.
I can't even see that one. Alright, let's get a bit of... Try a bit of brown, maybe.
Gave up the lease
But
of one of the
strap.
ground floor vaults under the House of Lords. So here they had a very, very convenient location to pile up their gunpowder.
The plotters get the gunpowder beneath the House of Lords by the simple act of renting a storeroom. This, I think, is probably the best description of just how much of a little rabbit warren Parliament was at this time.
In a big
There's
place.
absolutely no security. It is a warren of private tenements mixed with government buildings, and there's no attempt to separate one from the other.
In a series of dangerous journeys, Guy Fawkes began shipping gunpowder across the Thames and into the cellar.
Guy has spent over a decade on the continent as a soldier. He brings a level of expertise that the rest of them lack, and it's sorely needed.
He's had experience of siege warfare. He understands the power of gunpowder.
They are dependent on him for advice when it comes down to the nitty-gritty of how you go about blowing anything up, let alone the Houses of Parliament.
Kaboom.
The gunpowder was hidden under bundles of firewood, and it would be Guy's job to guard it.
Guy Fawkes has the huge advantage of being almost anonymous. The rest of these men are linked by family, they're linked by Catholicism, they're all within the government's radar.
Guy's job was to act as the custodian of the powder. Because he is the unknown face, Guy Fawkes is the perfect guardian. He can go under an assumed name. He chooses to be known as John Johnson. And
John
no one is any the
Johnson.
wiser.
There's a name. No one takes
King
it,
James
but it's a
had no
name.
idea of the scale of the plot developing against him, but his nose was certainly fine-tuned to danger.
James is a king who is descended from a long line of monarchs who have died violently. His own mother had lost her head to an axe. His own father had been strangled after an attempt to blow him up. No wonder he's nervous.
James's natural nervousness was fueled by the continual reports he was receiving of increasing Catholic unrest in England.
I think the anger has reached boiling point. You've had decades now of Catholic persecution, of repression, of lack of freedoms, of humiliations. There are reports coming back from across the country that Catholic numbers are growing. Catholics are coming up from the woodwork. They're suddenly Catholics where you didn't think Catholics even existed.
But James had employed a man he hoped would keep him safe. A man whose dearest ambition was to get rid of Catholics once and for all.
Robert Cecil has risen to power in the last years of Elizabeth I's reign. He's a leftover.
This small, hunched man, sort of just looking around all the time, mistrusting everybody.
He is an evangelist for state security. That is his primary concern. If you go back through the state papers at this point, they are a rich, paranoid stew of spies' reports, of possible suspects, of people that you need to keep an eye on. There's spies positioned at all the ports to see who's going backwards and forwards. It extends the whole way across the continent.
Robert Cecil put the full force of the state behind his spy operation, but it was no match for Guy Fawkes. Cecil's spies still had no idea that Guy was poised to carry out a deadly assault on King James and his government. But there was one thing the plotters couldn't control: when Parliament would next open.
There is a danger in delay, because there's more chance that it will be discovered before they can blow up Parliament. So now the challenge becomes to divert attention, to reduce any chance of suspicion falling on activities in Westminster. They disperse. Over the summer of 1605, they move out of London.
Guy Fawkes left his gunpowder behind and travelled to Flanders, where he had spent much of the previous decade fighting for the Catholic cause.
His main aim in going to Flanders is simply to vanish. He is the unknown face. He wants to stay the unknown face in London.
In Flanders, Guy Fawkes waited anxiously for news from London. He thought he was safely out of sight, but little did he know that one of Cecil's spies was watching him.
William Turner, the agent in the Netherlands, reports back to the English government that there are a couple of
William
Catholics,
Turner.
particularly oddly, one of whom is.
You all know that from the
But they have no idea of how important he is, and above all, they haven't the faintest idea of exactly what he is
films.
doing.
It's one thing to know a name. It's quite another to put the face to the name.
On the 28th of July, 1605, the King set a new date for the opening of Parliament, 3 months hence, on November the 5th. After a summer of keeping a low profile, Guy Fawkes felt confident enough to return to London. To Guy's relief, the gunpowder was still safely in place beneath Parliament. He resumed his disguise as John Johnson.
It must have felt like an endless series of false starts. You've got your adrenaline up, you've got your expectations up, and then it's all off again. You'd expect him to be a gibbering wreck, and yet he seems to be so stoic, so calm.
Meanwhile, Guy's partner in crime, Robert Catesby, took the further delay as an opportunity to make the plot even more ambitious.
There's a natural double bind for the plotters, and that is the fewer the people who know about the plot, the more chance it has of succeeding. But the fewer people who know about it, the fewer Catholics are going to be available to help with horses, cash, and spare swords.
Catesby starts widening the circle. He starts bringing more people into the plot, and Catesby can't reassure everybody. He can keep the core group of plotters content, but he can't keep everybody content. He can't keep the lid on everybody's concerns, and I think as it grows, so the concerns grow.
Rumours are starting to travel around the Catholic community by the summer of 1605.
Around 65!
Guy would have had moments of anxiety, he would have had moments of impatience. He's working mentally and emotionally at an optimum level. He's ready for the plot, he's ready to carry it out.
November the 5th drew ever closer, and as each day passed, the danger of being discovered mounted. But little did Guy know that the greatest danger lay not with the government, but within his closest circle, with a fellow Catholic.
As you can see, guys, I'm just sort of faffing around with colours and making things in, putting things here and there, sort of making sure I'm not really missing any, not leaving anything behind. And to sort of doing it properly, really, but just
Guy Fawkes and the
really
team of
faffing at the moment.
conspirators were
I'm
planning
not
to
really
blow
going to
up
go
Parliament
into any great
on
detail with
November
this one.
5th,
I am going to do a little bit detail on the fire at the base of this, as it is fireworks
Last
and
would
fire.
not only kill King James and his entire government, but also a large number of
I'm
Catholic
tempted to put a
nobles.
pilgrim hat, but he isn't a pilgrim, so
Guy Fawkes
it's got nothing to do with pilgrims. Other than it was similar time of time when the pilgrims were about.
There are clues, suggestions, straws in the wind. The people in the Catholic community did know that something was afoot, even though they didn't know exactly what it was.
Meanwhile, King James had spies everywhere, but he still had no idea that one of history's biggest terror plots was unfolding right beneath his feet.
I cannot see that.
However, it wasn't James's spies who were about to blow the plot wide open. On the 26th of October 1605, a member of Parliament named Lord Monteagle was dining at home. Dinner was interrupted by the arrival of a mysterious letter from an unknown sender.
My lord, I would advise you to not attend this sitting of Parliament. Go to your estate in the country where you'll be safe. Because although there is no appearance of any problem, yet this Parliament shall receive a terrible blow. But they will not see who it is that hurts them.
The plotters had been betrayed, but by who?
There is a dilemma if you're a Catholic at this time trying to stop the plot. How do you do so without incriminating anybody? How do you let the government know what's happening without handing over names? Because if you hand over names, your friends, your fellow Catholics will be arrested, they will be tortured, they will be executed.
The most plausible candidate is the 13th man brought into the plot, Francis Tresham, a Northamptonshire landowner. From the moment he heard about the plot, Tresham didn't like it. He was appalled at the prospect, appalled at the bloodshed that would be involved, appalled at the risk to other English Catholics. Tresham, we know, was, as Guy Fawkes and other plotters said, exceeding earnest to have Monteagle, who was his brother-in-law, spared from the destruction.
This advice should not be ignored, as it may do you some good, and it can do you no harm, because the danger will have passed as soon as you have burned this letter.
But some historians have other ideas.
The balance of probability is the Monteagle letter is written by Monteagle himself.
Monteagle had good reason to want the plot discovered. He was a reformed Catholic rebel who was now a loyal servant to King James.
It provides a perfect and in the event a really successful cover story for how he comes to know of the plot.
Tresham is Monteagle's brother-in-law. I think the pair of them cook it up together. And it is a way of warning the government very cryptically that there's going to be an explosion.
We'll never know who wrote the letter, but one thing is certain. This was a moment of crisis for Guy Fawkes and his fellow plotters.
The Gunpowder plotters learn about the Monteagle letter and the fact that it's been passed to the Privy Council. So, of course, they want to know whether the government's taking this seriously.
Cecil now had the first piece of evidence that could lead him to the gunpowder plot.
Okay, let's do a little bit. I don't know if I should colour the face in or
The
not,
letter is not
but I will colour
solid
his
evidence.
sheets here.
It's general. It simply says that a blow will be struck. Could be anything, really. Nothing at all. This could be complete imagination.
Rather than informing the king immediately, Cecil decided to wait and to watch.
If there is a plan to blow up Parliament, you can sort of let that tick over because Parliament's not going anywhere. You know when the opening is. It's the 5th of November. You've got till then. You need to find out what's going on elsewhere. Is there going to be a rebellion? Is there going to be an uprising anywhere? It might seem like a dangerous game, but there's a certain logic to it, and Cecil is an extremely logical man.
Meanwhile, the plotters were so terrified that their secret was out that Guy stayed
save
away
that
from the
quickly?
cellar for several days.
Always save, guys, because
It
if you
wasn't
don't
until
save,
the 30th of October
you will
that he went to
regret
check
it.
on the gunpowder.
And that is where you see Fawkes' bravery, because it is Fawkes, more often than not, who puts his head in the noose. He goes to the cellar. He is the man who checks to see whether anything's been disturbed.
The gunpowder was still hidden beneath the firewood, apparently undiscovered. For Guy, this was a sure sign that the Monteagle letter had been ignored. He thought he was safe to continue the plot. But he was wrong.
he was, but he wasn't. And you'll find out very soon why. Whitehall Palace, London.
On November the 1st, Cecil finally showed the Monteagle letter to King James. The king's response was to order a search of Parliament.
James is a very hands-on king. One of James's huge frustrations on coming to England is that he's kept so removed from the nitty-gritty of power. He would have seen nothing odd in taking a full role in uncovering the plot.
Fawkes is absolutely ready to go on the 4th of November. He's there in the vault, watch and match and fuse.
For Guy to get to the stage where he is now convinced and ready and prepared to carry out the plot would have been similar to a prizefighter who's gone through a process of mental, emotional, physical training. He just wasn't scared.
He has a sense of duty. He's made an oath. And he's just going to stay there and blow Parliament if at all possible.
The search found nothing out of the ordinary, except for one thing. In a cellar directly beneath Parliament, they met a man who called himself John Johnson. The inspectors commented in surprise on the amount of firewood John Johnson had in his cellar, before passing on their way.
I think the fact that they've gone away is the biggest reassurance that Guy Fawkes has had in the last week. They've seen him, they've had a word, they've pushed off. He's got less than 24 hours to get through. I suspect he feels that the crisis has passed.
But just above Guy's head, the king himself was asking questions. Who was the mysterious man named John Johnson, and what was he doing?
They start thinking, well, are we absolutely sure that nothing's going on here? Is it worth going back and having another look?
King James ordered a second search to be carried out, and the inspectors returned to the cellar. As they pulled away the firewood, they finally realized the full horror of what they had missed before. 36 barrels of gunpowder. The plot had finally been busted, only hours from success.
It must have been so frustrating to be so close and to be captured. And yet you get no glimpse from him other than this stoical face. This absolutely defiant man. What he's feeling inside, one can only guess at. But the facade is absolutely stoical.
The most desperate moment of Guy's life was perhaps the most triumphant moment of James's reign.
It's just brilliantly handled by the government. What it does is catch Guy Fawkes at the last possible minute, because they can reveal to the public that the plot has been really narrowly averted. The real aim for them is make people feel what a wonderful government they've almost lost.
That very day,
I've done that ever
people burned
since.
bonfires in the streets of London to celebrate the saving of the king.
I think the feeling must have been a huge relief. Very quickly, people would have had this sense of what could have happened, of narrow escapes, of calamity averted.
But behind the scenes, King James and his government felt far less safe than they let on. They had Guy Fawkes, but they had no idea who else was involved, or the full scale of the plot.
This is a crisis. No one quite knows what's going on. There's a
Okay,
real
so let's work on the fire a little bit now. I am going to be trying to use different effects on the fire though. To change it up, so I'm going to get into textures and then change things up. So let's find a nice texture that will work with fire, shall we?
There was one thing James wanted more than anything else: to come face to face with the man who wished him dead.
Here we had Guy Fawkes meeting his mortal enemy, the person that is the very embodiment of everything that he is fighting against, the very person that he wants to kill.
It must have been the most extraordinarily charged meeting, with James trying to find out who Guy Fawkes is, what he's attempting, and Guy Fawkes attempting to keep the plot secret. It's James trying to satisfy his own personal curiosities. It speaks of James the intellect, James the mind, James the man.
Look at some kindling there first, I think.
What the king expects is to have a shivering captive who's going to beg for mercy and be prepared to trade information and the fate of his life. What he gets is this tall, good-looking, striking man who stares him in the eye and says simply he regrets nothing.
Tradition has it that when James asks Guy Fawkes why he would have done this dreadful deed, Fawkes replies, "I wanted to blow you back to your Scottish mountains."
Guy refused to betray the plotters or reveal his own identity. But King James had a far more brutal way of loosening Guy's tongue.
ends up in a subterranean cell, probably in pitch darkness in the Tower of London. Unheated, damp, horrifying. And since this doesn't seem to make any difference to him, the king issues the famous order.
If he will not otherwise confess, the gentler tortures are to be the first used unto him, and so by degrees proceeding to the worst.
Exactly what that meant, Guy was about to find out.
Getting a bit gruesome now, guys. So if you're easily unhinged, then turn down the volume and just watch the art unfold.
Guy Fawkes was about to face a brutal interrogation on the orders of King James himself. So far, he had given away nothing, not even his real name.
I personally am convinced that Fawkes was subjected to what they called the manacles at the time, and almost certainly the rack as well.
There's the gentle torture, which is you're hung up by your hands for hours until your muscles scream. And the worst is to be laid out in a wooden frame with your arms and your legs attached to cords on pulleys, and the levers and the wheels are then worked on the pulleys until your limbs dislocate. It's virtually impossible to be racked without being crippled for life.
Most people, after even one session, you feel, would have given up. Fawkes keeps holding out.
Guy holds out for days because he believes that the longer that he holds up the government, the more his friends have a chance to get away.
To King James's frustration, Guy kept silent throughout the 6th and into the 7th of November. The king himself sent down a list of questions to try and get Guy to talk.
The king's really involved in the process. After all, he's met the chap, eyeball to eyeball.
James must have been fascinated as to why this man, Guy Fawkes, should hate him so much. What motivates him? Who is he? What is driving him?
Late on the 7th of November, Guy finally revealed his real name. That same day, King James began receiving messages about a Catholic rebellion in the Midlands, which was about to reach a deadly climax.
They head into the Midlands, they gather as much support as they can to carry out the second part of the plan. They get very little support because the English Catholics had the reaction they should have always expected from them, which is horror and disgust.
After several days trying to gather support, Guy's co-plotters were finally cornered in a standoff.
In the end, the conspirators have a shootout. They're not taken by government troops, they're pinned down, rounded up or killed by the local militia.
4 of the conspirators were shot dead, including the originator of the gunpowder plot, Robert Catesby. The rest were arrested. On the 9th of November, news reached London that the plot was over. That same day, Guy Fawkes signed a full confession.
Once Guy had broken and had given the information away, he would have felt that he's failed God. He would have felt that he had betrayed everything that he believed in.
Guy Fawkes had worked out in his own mind that God had not approved of the plan. And to someone like Guy Fawkes, a very devout man, that would have mattered to him extremely.
While Guy lay broken in his cell, Parliament finally opened, and King James delivered a triumphant speech in which he took full credit for discovering the plot.
As the wretch himself that is in the tower does confess, it was purposely devised by them. The horrible and fearful cruelty of their device was not only for the destruction of my person, but of the whole body of the state in general.
He's able to tell them that all of them, every single person in that chamber, has narrowly escaped death. And the person who has prevented that is him, James. He has solved the plot. It is the most wonderful moment for him.
King James had turned the greatest terror plot in history into a political triumph, and he would reap the benefits for the rest of his reign.
His first parliament had been an absolute disaster. They'd been fractious. They hadn't given him any money to run the government whatsoever. His second parliament, having stood there in front of them and explained the plot and his part in it, gives him well nigh £500,000.
Okay, so I'm going to put some light to that fire because I'm kind of happy with the way that's worked out. What do you think, guys?
Guy Fawkes and his co-plotters were tried for treason and sentenced to a traitor's death.
I'm going to get the blending tool now and blur it out a little bit.
Quartered.
Turn it down at opacity. Not it too blurred. Still, I kind of like that the way it is kind of working together.
They are entertainments and moral lessons. One can imagine they're stunned to silence.
Take off the edges a little bit, make them a little less
very few apart from
sort of there.
Catholics
Blend things in together.
Guy was the last to mount the scaffold, having watched his 3 comrades die before him. They were hung by the neck, then taken down, disemboweled, and cut up into pieces. Some suffered more than others.
Those who are absolutely penitent are hanged until they're dead, or so almost dead they can't feel what's going on. Those who extenuate what they've done are hanged for 5 minutes or less, and then cut up while they're still alive and feeling everything.
It's an exemplary punishment. It's a horrible punishment.
Guy's journey from ground level up the scaffold was a slow and tortuous one. He stumbled, he was in pain, nobody was helping him. The crowd is very, very silent as well.
Guy was a soldier. He knew the risks of what he did. It's what he would have expected as the price of failure. He is then hanged.
He is so damaged by the torture he has suffered that the small drop from the ladder is sufficient to break his neck.
Disemboweled and quartered.
So he dies before he has to face the quartering, the disemboweling.
King James had triumphed over his mortal enemy, and he made sure the people knew it. Guy's head, and those of the other plotters, were displayed on spikes across London Bridge, as a warning to any future traitors.
The king really had it in for him. And this is why I think Guy Fawkes is the name we all remember. The same night, James lights a bonfire and puts an effigy of Guy Fawkes and the Pope on top of the bonfire, and we're doing that ever since.
Apart from we don't put the Pope on there, we just put Guy Fawkes.
If
Which,
the plotters succeed,
hearing this, I don't think I want to.
probably
I generally just let off fireworks now. I don't set a fire or anything like that.
that we've ever seen.
Don't tend to put the guy on the fire anymore because we think it's kind of
They very, very nearly got away.
what's the word? Stands against a lot of what we believe now.
44 BC, Julius Caesar, the most powerful man in the world, was brutally murdered.
Julius Caesar.
Among his assassins,
So that
close friends
concludes
and
the end
allies.
of the story of Guy Fawkes. hopefully you have enjoyed that and you've enjoyed the drawing today, guys. And what do you think of the little doodle that I've coloured in? Again, I've used somebody else's art and sort of used the form from there. But I've used my own personal techniques, added a few bits here and there. I don't want to add too much to it because I think it would sort of take away from the actual main image. But hopefully you have enjoyed today's pictures, guys. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and tune in next week for more from the art and other things that's going on my channel, guys. If you're a fan of art and you like to draw, but you have sort of tricky problems with other things to draw, like I don't know, females to muscular figures, definitely let me know. Or you can check out any of the other videos that I've got up on my channel, guys, because there's tutorials there for you and loads of other stuff for you guys to go and check out. So don't forget to put me in the corner and scroll down, check out the dark month last month, which was for October, and again I was working with Nikki, but I think that's coming to an end now, so we're continuing on with other things until she gets back to me. But again, guys, thank you very much for watching this quick little doodle of what's going to be going up onto my channel. This is going to be used for my thumbnail picture. Sorry, not my thumbnail picture, I don't know what it's called. Let's just get that up quickly, where it's going to actually go. I can't actually do what I needed to do. Give me a second. Close that. I need to open up a new window. Let's go to YouTube. And I'll show you guys from yesterday what actually I did yesterday, quickly, before we end the stream today. Sorry if this is very... there's the things. Don't forget to check that out, guys, if you're not already checking it out. And... go to my channel. Let's go to my channel. Loads of other things. Like I said, guys, this is what we did yesterday. We did the Blute Art and Games thumb. I don't know what the picture that goes on the main bar picture. But we are going to be changing this one here into from Blute Blue Angel to put Guy Fawkes for this month, as we're going to be doing V from Vendetta next week, the mask and full picture of the figure, and which is based around Guy Fawkes, as Monday is going to be Guy Fawkes night. Or remember, Alexa, remember the 5th of November.
The gunpowder treason plot. I know of no reason why the gunpowder treason should ever be forgot or forgotten.
And it will never be, because on 5th of November we will be lighting some fireworks and having a little bit of hullabaloo, scaring my animals and doing a few things. If I could record that, I will do, guys. But otherwise, thank you very much for watching us today. Don't forget to check out the artwork later on when I've uploaded it to this piece here. But if you want to check out what I did yesterday, the video is right there for you guys to check out. Or if you want to check out the last month or the beginning of this week, which was Halloween night, there are many more different things for you guys to check out. So don't forget to go and check them out and see what else I'm getting up to and what I've gotten up to. If you're a fan of Spider-Man, I have completed all of that game now. But if you just want to check out something else, there's pumpkins and there's loads of other artwork that I've been doing over the past month. So definitely don't forget to go and check them out, guys. And I will see you next week on this channel, Blute 084 BLUT 084 Art and Games. Thank you very much for watching, guys. It's been a pleasure drawing again for you. Hopefully you have liked this drawing that I've done, and I'll see you again Monday. Bye for now.